Okay, looks like we got ourselves a debt deal. Yay for us. We're not going to destroy the global economy. You know what really gets me about this, though, is they ramp up the fear every single time, and we know year after year, every couple, 2, 3 years, we have to have this debt ceiling debate. Now, what kills me about this whole thing is we don't address military spending. Is in fact when we cap non-discretionary or when we cap discretionary spending, we specifically exclude defense spending. We don't address Social Security at all. So the big ticket items, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the military, right? We're not going to touch any of those things, and then we're going to pretend like we're working on the budget. So at the end of the day, we're just setting ourselves up for the next debt ceiling debate. So let's go quickly through kind of what the details of this deal are as they're coming out and just see what we think. So here we'll bring on a story. This is debt limit deal sets up tough battle for passage in Congress because the drama's not over. Yellen did a nice job. She extended this thing out to the 5th, I think. So that gives McCarthy and Biden have had plenty of time to get their own to be in front of the camera. The biggest part of this whole debt deal was probably the fact that the Congress people didn't have an opportunity to get enough camera time. So let's get this thing extended so we can set up a nice little battle in Congress. There's a few things that are going to happen. Let me throw out for you so you have an understanding of what's coming next. First thing you're going to see is the hardline conservative Republicans, the people who want to paint themselves as real budget hawks, by the way, who are also not going to talk about national defense. They're not going to talk about defense spending, HSA, TSA, Homeland Security, not HSA, TSA, the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense. They're not going to touch those things. They're going to pretend to be super serious about the budget, but they won't talk about those things at all. So this is going to go to Congress. They're going to get their chance. So you're going to hear from those guys, and they're going to talk about how they didn't get enough cuts, they didn't get what they wanted. So getting a U.S. debt limit deal is one thing. Overcoming entrenched political divisions and time-consuming procedural hurdles to pass legislation before a June 5th default deadline is another challenge altogether. So they're setting us up already. It's like, tune in because we got a lot of ad space to sell, and we got an election coming up next year. We've got to get in front of the camera. So they're setting us up for a very exciting week. The deal struck Saturday night by President Joe Biden and Speaker Kevin McCarthy offers a lot for the two parties not to like. Okay, so let's get the bases riled up. Let's get people angry. Let's get people excited. With just over a week until the U.S. risks running out of cash to pay its bills, the two leaders now must convince enough members of their respective parties that the agreement hashed out by a small group of negotiators is a better deal than the global economic consequences of default. Blue, right? So we got to get this deal passed, essentially to save the world, right? It's going to be a debt default. It's going to be the worst thing that's ever happened. So he's got to abide by a 72-hour rule to allow lawmakers to review legislation, blah, 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 blah. Severe challenge to pass the House. Republican Patrick McHenry, one of McCarthy's chief negotiators, acknowledged as much on Saturday, saying it would be a severe challenge to get the bill passed by the deadline. This is all theater. This is going to pass. We're going to be fine on the deadline. Hey, look, mark this video down. But if we breach the debt ceiling and we default, nobody's coming back to watch this video. We all have other things going on. So I can say whatever I want. Some House ultra-conservatives are ultra-conservatives. I don't even know what that means. Some House ultra-conservatives are agitating against the agreement almost as soon as it was announced. Ralph Norman of South Carolina called it insanity, and Representative Dan Bishop of North Carolina responded to the deal with an emoji of a face vomiting. Now, keep in mind that the Republicans who are not happy with this bill, are not happy with it because it doesn't do enough to reduce spending. That's the Republican issue with this. So what kills me is then why are we not talking about military spending? That's it. That's the biggest discretionary spending item we have. Do we not have room in the military budget? We've seen the audits on the Pentagon and the trillions of dollars of missed money, but we're not going to talk about that. But we're going to be ultra conservative and super fiscally responsible and wring our hands over this debt deal because we didn't get enough reduction. But don't touch the largest discretionary spending that we have, which is military spending. It's just insane to me. Not everyone will be happy. Most people, you shouldn't be happy. Taxpayers should be very unhappy. We're just on the path to the next debate. We're on our way to the next debt ceiling debate. So there's a CNN article that kind of goes over what's in the bill. So let's bring that up. Here's what's in the debt ceiling deal. So we're going to increase the debt limit for 2 years. Under the deal, non-defense spending would remain relatively flat in fiscal 2024 and increase by 1% in 2025. There's no cap. We're not going to do anything with defense spending. The House GOP fact sheet says that non-defense discretionary spending would be rolled back to 2022 levels. Why not all of it? How fiscally conservative would we be? And let me tell you something, conservative Republicans, if you really wanted Democrats to come to the table and offer up some of their golden calves for sacrifice, right? If you wanted the Democrats to come in and accept some of your conditions, all you had to do is say, look, we're going to do that. We're going to roll defense spending back to 2022 levels. Hey, now we're talking. Now we're getting some. Now you have, if nothing else, you can point to the Democrats and say, look, we're offering up what is essentially our sacred cow, because this is how desperate the situation is. And then the Democrats actually are on their heels. But you're not going to do that because, first, you're predominantly concerned with getting reelected, and your base isn't going to like that. And second, we know who's spending the money out there, right? The big defense contractors and big pharma, there's like the two biggest campaign contributors out there. We're not going to make those people angry. So everybody's just pretending to care about being fiscally responsible. Protecting veterans' medical care, great. I don't consider that part of defense spending. Expands work requirements for SNAP. I don't really agree with that, to be honest with you. I don't think that's necessarily a great idea. If you really wanted to put people on the path to getting off of public assistance services like SNAP, welfare, et cetera, the best way to do that, in my opinion, would be to eliminate the earnings caps when people go on these programs. And think about, like, when somebody goes on SNAP or welfare or whatever, if they want to advance their career in any way, if they want to move up, start earning more money, it's a trade-off between taking on more responsibility and working harder for realistically not any better of a financial situation, because as their pay increases, they lose benefits. So if you want to encourage people to get off these programs, you have to eliminate these earning caps once they're on the program. Hey, look, you're on the program. You got the program for 2 years. Your benefits are locked in. We're going to set a sunset date for these, but do everything you can to move your career forward, advance yourself, so that you can get. That's how you do it. You don't create just a random work requirement for SNAP, and I don't think it's an effective means to get to the end that they claim to want to be getting to. I like clawing back the unspent COVID-19 relief funds. That's a good thing. That money shouldn't be out there. COVID's over. So it's hard to say how much is still. It's funny to me that we don't know how much is still out there, but let's get that money back. That's a good idea. I'm glad we're cutting the Internal Revenue Service spending, but they have $80 billion in new spend. So here's the thing that kills me. Cut Internal Revenue Service funding. No. Instead of increasing it by $80 billion, we're going to increase it by like $78 billion. It's a $1.9 billion reduction in the growth of IRS funding. I love how they phrase these things. They always phrase them in a way that allows you to pretend like you're actually making a cut. But in reality, they're just saying, well, let's not expand the IRS quite as much as we said we were going to. It just kills me. Restart student loan repayments, fine. But like I said, if you really think about it, this is just putting us back on path to have the next grandiose debate over the debt ceiling. So does it really do anything? Not really. We got a short term, but, gear up for the fight. That'll be entertainment. We'll have some nice political theater this week. And hey, thanks for stopping by, Brian for Liberty. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.